In this week's episode, if you're ready to tackle your spring cleaning projects, I'm going to provide you with simple strategies to get you started, but also to help you get rid of the things you need to let go. So stay tuned. Hello and welcome to Got Clutter, Get Organized, the go-to source for transforming chaos into order. I am your host, Janet M. Taylor, and I've been helping people organize their lives for over 30 years. So whether you're a longtime listener, viewer, maybe you're tuning in for the first time, I am so thrilled to have you join me for this episode. So, of course, today it's all about spring cleaning and specifically I'm going to walk you through some key areas. Sometimes I get a little tongue tied. Some key areas to focus on, specifically as you are clearing out the expired items. Plus, just maybe a few tips on how to refresh your home and your life. And of course, hopefully, at the end of this episode, you are going to just have a lighter space and a clearer mind. And of course, I want to make sure you stick around for some decluttering tips in my Taylor's Tip Time, as well as my weekly product and book suggestion that will make your life easier. So, of course, I want you to get your pen and your pad and maybe your tablet. And of course, I always want you to share this with a friend on just some spring cleaning strategies, how to clear out the expired items so that you can truly feel lighter mentally, but also see it physically in your space. So stay tuned for my solo conversation, and it's just you and me this week. Well, hello and welcome to Got Clutter, Get Organized, the conversation. So, spring is here, and for many of us, that means tackling spring cleaning. But instead of just really, overwhelming ourselves with the big projects, what if we started small by clearing out what's expired and not just expired food, but what about the makeup? What about our habits? What about our commitments and also even our relationships that really no longer serve us? So today I'm going to be sharing with you how to make spring cleaning effortless and let go of what's past is prime. Again, letting go of what's past is prime. So the first thing is the items in your home, your pantry and your fridge. When was the last time you actually looked through the pantry as well as your fridge and looked at the expiration date on things? I did that recently. I was surprised. And sometimes there's items that we buy out of habit, but we don't necessarily use often. For me, it's mayonnaise. I don't use mayonnaise at all. I looked at the mayonnaise and it was expired. So, of course, I had to replace it, but I decided to replace it with a smaller jar since I don't use it that often. What about our medicine cabinet? When was the last time you really pulled everything out? Because sometimes there are seasons in our lives where we take certain things and use certain things. And then, of course, we change our habits. We don't use those items. Now, it's always good to have certain, staples in our medicine cabinet. But do you really need all of those? And also, are some of them expired? And what about our beauty and our skincare? Now, ladies, this is for you. And of course, men, I know you're listening too. A lot of times we use things, again, at certain area, when you're 20s, your 30s, your 40s, and on. And it changes. And you find something you like a little better, find something that's more in your price point. And maybe you have something that you use, but maybe you didn't like it for some reason, but you never really got rid of it. So think about that. Think about those things. So again, it's just looking at each area and just tackling one at a time. So those are the expired items in your home. What about the paperwork and the digital clutter? Old bills, old documents. Now, there's different types of, I guess you would call them, uh, different types of plans out there, different types of references in regards to how long you need to keep things. Really, I would advise you to sit down with your legal financial counsel and see how long you need to keep things. Do you need to keep bills for an entire year? Or after you paid for them, can you get rid of them? Are there certain documents you need to keep for a specific period of time? That's why it's good to have these conversations. Let's talk about taxes. Some of us keep tax forms forever. We've got this first tax return we did when we got that first job and we really had to, fill out an income tax form. Do we need it now that we're a little older? You know. So think about those things. But let's talk about the digital clutter. And one of the things I'm really getting into with my digital clutter is number one, at least once a month, I go through my emails. And I'm also really, at least once a month going through text messages because sometimes you do text back and forth to people. But then that's just for a short conversation. They're not core people in your life or in your career, your profession. So you don't need to keep those text messages. And also, I'm getting in the habit of really deleting videos and photos from my phone that I don't need. So think about that. And also, a lot of times we create reports and we create drafts, and then we've got the final draft. Do you need all of that? So, just create some standards for yourself. For example, maybe once a month you'll go through your emails and, of course, the voicemails and things like that. Maybe once a quarter, you'll go through your files or even have a routine and a habit that after you finish a big project, that you will actually go through and make sure you have all the final documents and not anything else. So that's two. Number three is, what about our clothes and our accessories? So I recently, to my Facebook group, shared sometimes it is time for us to get rid of things, specifically clothes, specifically shoes, that we just don't need anymore. And I even showed them a pair of, in the beginning, I fell in love with these sandals and they were white with gold on it, and I just fell in love with it. Well, I wore them until you couldn't wear them anymore. And I kept trying to get them repaired. And you know how it is. You got that pair either by the door or somewhere in the depths of your closet. So think about getting rid of some of those. I'm not saying get rid of just one pair. I'm challenging you, one pair of sneakers, shoes, something that you have just worn that you really shouldn't be wearing anymore. So think about that. Think about accessories because we all go through changes. What we wore in our 20s is different than what we're wearing in our 40s. Think about that. Are you still wearing those things? So go through those areas as well. Because if you haven't worn it in a year, think about that as well. And also, do they fit? Do they feel good? Do you feel good wearing things? So that's the third area. The fourth area, let's take a deep breath. Our expired commitments as well as our habits. Are you saying yes to things just because of obligation? Because every time somebody asks you, you say yes? Are you doing that? And do you have routines that maybe no longer align with you? Someone shared with me that they had a routine where they walked so many days a week, but because their schedule changed, they had to just make some rearrangement, and they had to let the person who was their walking buddy know, this is not working for me anymore. It didn't stop them from walking, but also they knew they had to make the change because things in their work schedule kind of made a pivot. So sometimes it's looking at them. Maybe every Saturday or every third Saturday you get together and you do these activities. Are those the activities you want to do? Are those the places you want to go? Do you want to go someplace different? Look at our commitments. Just because it's in the calendar doesn't mean it has to stay in there. Someone shared with me that they still had standing meetings in their schedule and in their calendar from pre-COVID. Is that necessary? Begin to look like, is this necessary? Do we have to have it every week? Can we have it once a month? Do we need to just have it quarterly? Think about that. Really begin to take back your time. And of course, What about expired relationships and mindsets? Of course, we should all let go of toxic relationships. Now, there will be times because we are related to these people that we still in relationship with them. But somebody shared with me that what they do is whenever they go to a family gathering, they at least stay for minimum 2 hours. If it begins to get toxic, they leave. But they at least want to show effort that I still want to stay connected, but they don't allow that toxicity to get, you know, in their mindset. But also, what of our mindset? What are some things that we think? What are some habits that we continually to do that we need to let go of? The negative talk. You know, we need to begin to tell ourselves. Sometimes one of the things I do is something I watch Mel Robbins, and she says, give yourself a high five. Go in the mirror and give yourself a high five. A lot of times we do these big projects. We accomplish so much. We never celebrate ourselves. We just go on to the next. So maybe that's something that needs to be part. Maybe you need to get rid of the old habit of just moving on to the next project and really beginning to just pause, celebrate you, and then for what you've accomplished. And then, of course, moving on to the next thing. And then, of course, the last thing I want to talk about is habits and making room for new ones. And that really is about healthiness. That is about embracing how you want to be healthy in this new season and moving forward. You know, maybe you've been running on coffee and sugar, which is not, it's not good. One of the things, my habits is I love sweets, desserts, everything. I even have uh, a pastry chef who sends me things occasionally. But what I've decided to do is my habit is when I go to the store and buy things, I no longer go down that aisle with all of those sweets. That's a habit. And then, of course, maybe your morning routine is chaotic. Do you need to do something the night before so you don't have a chaotic morning routine? I share with you 15 minutes of pre planning saves you an hour the next day. And maybe you just need to be a little more focused and less stressed. What do you need to incorporate? Do you need to incorporate just some breathing, some stretching, some yoga? But one of the things in all of that that I've done that helps me with my focus, that gives me the energy without the sluggishness, but also just helps me be a little bit more calm is, of course, my wonderful magic mind right here. Magic mind. It does so many things for me. Of course, this is my empty one. I always have at least an empty one because I've already taken it. I always make sure I have a replacement on my desk. But what it does is give me more focus. It's giving me more energy without the sluggishness. But also, it just allows me that peace that I need because just like you've got all these different things going on. So think about that as well. So it gives you focus, it gives you energy. Also, my creativity has just gone through the roof. So definitely, if you are thinking about just incorporating, because we're talking about getting rid of the old habits and bringing in the new, make sure that, you know, you think about some magic mind. And in a few minutes, I'm going to share with you how you can actually get your own magic mind. But I want to do just a recap of all the different areas that you can focus on, and just focus on one at a time. Maybe you want to focus on the things in your home. Maybe you just want to go into your refrigerator and your pantry. That's the kitchen area. Then, of course, maybe you just want to go actually into the medicine cabinet. That's the bathroom. And then, of course, the bathroom. And then maybe you want to do your beauty area, your skincare area. Just kind of looking at what's expired, what you no longer need. So that's the first area. Second area is that paperwork and that digital clutter. Go into that home office. Schedule maybe an hour or two just doing any of these things. Then, of course, you want to tackle the closet and just start by getting rid of stuff you can't fit, that's just worn, torn, all of those things, and looking at our habits and our commitments. Do I have something on my calendar that I'm not even interested in anymore? Look at that. And then, of course, relationships and mindsets. Just, waking up, feeling good about the day, being grateful about the day and seeing a new day. And of course, making sure you make some healthy, healthy habits, making sure you get rid of those expired habits that are not good for you anymore. And of course, I shared with you, just thinking about healthy things, not having the sugar, the caffeine, the sluggish feeling, not having any focus, and incorporating something like Magic Mind. So use code, and I'm going to read this, CGCO20. That's CGCO20. And of course, you can get 48% off your first subscription, or you can get 20% off of a one time purchase. And of course, you can claim it. There's going to be a link in this show page. It's magicmind.com/CGCO20. Again, that's CGCO20. So now it's your turn. What things are you going to let go of? Are you going to let go of some shoes, some digital clutter, some habits, some bad healthy habits, some mindsets, maybe some social media? But I want you to tag me at Janet M. Taylor. And of course, making sure I'm Janet the Organizer, just on TikTok, on actually Instagram, Janet the Organizer. Tag me. But of course, let me know below what you are actually going to let go of. So I hope you found this episode helpful. And of course, make sure you leave a review for this podcast as well. So just stay tuned because I've got more of this podcast to come. So, what was your takeaway from the tips that I gave you and the areas of focus in order to clear some clutter out of your home, but also out of your life? I would like to know what area you're going to start on first. So please, again, feel free to post it down below. So now I want to share some tips and Taylor's tip time. And these are basically going to be, again, some more decluttering strategies. So number one, set a timer. So you don't have to spend all weekend. You don't have to spend a half a day. You can spend 15 minutes, 45 minutes, how much ever time and energy you want to give to this project. Number two, one room at a time. So again, whether you want to do the kitchen, the bathroom, the bedroom, whether you want to just focus on your digital clutter, your physical paperwork, or maybe you just really want to review your calendar, one room, one area. Use the would I buy this again? Would I buy this again? Looking at something, realizing you haven't used it. Would I buy it again? And as you go through things like, would I buy this nail color again? Would I buy this shoe again because it's uncomfortable? Would I buy this, you know, utensil again because I never really use it? So think about things like that. Donate or recycle. Because part of organizing is you want to get rid of as much stuff as you need before you really get into the hands-on organizing and setting up systems. So donate things, put things outside so other people, maybe in your neighborhood, your community, can take them. But also think about what you need to recycle. And of course, refresh and reset. Once you clear things off, maybe after you get finished, put the candle on. Maybe you're like, oh, I've done 15 minutes, Janet. I'm going to put a candle on. Or maybe you're going to give yourself some flowers or something. So just to recap on Taylor's tip time is set the timer one room at a time. And of course, would I buy this again? Donate or recycle. And of course, refresh and reset. Well, now it's time for the resources for the week. And my resource suggestion for the week is plastic containers, specifically clear ones, so that you can kind of see what's in there. And of course, getting some labels as well. And my book suggestion for this week, because we're talking about spring cleaning, we're talking about mindsets. We're talking about changing things. What about a journal? Now, some of you probably have journals in your homes and in your lives anyway, so you really don't need to buy one. But what about a journal? So that is my book suggestion for you this week. Well, I always pause. Now, of course, you can see me pausing, at least those of you who can see the video. But it is Toss It Tuesday time. And see, now you really get to see how excited I get in Toss It Tuesday time. So, but I want to know, are you actually, do you have pep to your step? Do you have a little dance either by the dining room table or the coffee table? Or do you just have a routine because you get so excited with Toss It Tuesday? Let me know. But this Toss It Tuesday, because we're talking about getting rid of things that maybe we don't use anymore. What about books? Have you looked on your bookshelf lately? Do you see like several books that you know you will never read again? Or what about this? A lot of times when I go to different events, they always have a book in the actual giveaway bag or the conference bag. And a lot of times the books are something I want to read, but then sometimes they're not. So what about those? And if you have those little libraries in your neighborhood, I'm challenging you to just kind of take a couple of books and put them in there, because those are wonderful resources for the people in your neighborhood as well as in your community. So, of course, I always want to let you know I love to hear your thoughts on this episode, specifically because this episode is a little different. For some of you, for the first time, you get to see the entire episode. Usually, when I post things either on YouTube or either on Spotify is usually just, video, audio only. But YouTube, you just see kind of a portion. But this time, you see the entire episode. So I want to know, how did you like it? Did you enjoy it? Please let me know. And of course, whatever platform, rate, but specifically on Apple Podcasts, I would love for you just to review it and just leave a review. And of course, as always, make sure you share this with someone who could use a little organization in their life. And of course, for those of you who don't know, if you are truly ready to take control of your life with some personal help, virtual sessions are available, because I can help you either organize a space, whether it's your home, whether it's an office space, but I can also help you organize your time and also organize your life. So make sure you click the links available in the show page. So, because I am here to guide you. So make sure, again, you can just start by just having a 15-minute session with me so we can talk about your project and see if this is something I can assist you with. And of course, I always want to thank you. Thank you all for following me on social media and being a part of that community as well. And of course, those of you who are already a part of the Facebook group, thank you so much for joining. But it is Living Life Totally Organized. It's for women only. And I share tips and strategies on how they can live that organized life. So please be sure to join us as well. And my book. Well, actually, I already showed you my book suggestion, but the reason I said book is because the person who wrote this quote actually wrote a book, which I have. But my quote for this week is: clutter is nothing but postponed decisions. So when you look at all of the things in your home and in your life that are just sitting there, it's because it is a postponed decision. And this tip is by Barbara Hempel, and she is like one of the top organizers. And of course, making sure that you actually take advantage of getting some Magic Mind. So, up to 48% off of your first subscription or 20% off of a one time purchase. Again, 48% off of your first subscription and 20% off of a one time purchase. And of course, you can, when you go to checkout, it's CGCO20, CGCO20 at checkout. Or you can go to magicmind.com, CGCO20. And again, you get 48% off of your first subscription or 20% off of a one-time purchase. So make sure you take advantage of it. More focus, not that sluggish feeling. And of course, you just have more energy just to do what you, of course, love to do. So, again, I want to thank you for tuning in, for watching to this episode of Got Clutter, Get Organized. And of course, if you haven't subscribed, make sure you do so on your favorite podcast platform so you don't miss a future episode. So, until next time, I want you to have a clutter free day. But most of all, I want you to have an organized